blocks, not aftermarket block or anything. So it's pretty crazy how he makes so much power on something of to that scale with what he's got. So definitely go over and check his stuff out. Talk to him about his racing, what's got him into racing. Just kind of learn more about some other races out there. Alright, so now we're sitting here with Corbin Helton, going over his 95 Mustang. We're going to talk to him a little bit about his car. So, I guess first off, we'd like to know, give us the info on your car, the build, what all you've done yourself.
So, I bought that car when I was 18. It was a one owner. It was original 5-liter, 5-speed car. Wasn't fast enough. One thing led to the next, and it's now a hand-me-down, big block, turbo, gutted Swiss cheese car.
Well, tell us about your big block.
So the motor itself is a factory 1970 429 460 block. It's got a factory made steel 429 dump truck crank. It is aluminum rod, JE piston, bottom end. It's got a camshaft by John Bewley, blow-through carburetor by John Bittler at IRD Carburetors. It's got a set of EX 514 heads, used to be on a pulling truck, and a single precision 98 millimeter, and it's on methanol.
What kind of racing do you do?
Poor man's grudge racing, more prep, no time stuff. I run the street car shootout series at the Valley a lot, which is just Friday night prep test and tune night. And a lot of the guys there are pretty fast, so hanging with them is a task.
So we were talking earlier about your car, and you went from a twin turbo setup to a single turbo setup, and you built all that piping yourself and whatnot?
Yeah. So I did that to try and take some nose weight off of it. The car, with a big block is heavy on the nose anyways. So the thing scaled like 62% on the nose, 3,200 pounds, and I was having trouble trying to get through the 60-foot on any kind of mediocre prep. Radial prep, the thing would go, bottom teen 60 foots without a problem, but we couldn't control the front. We had bad struts and just everything that you fight when you're doing it on a budget with cheap parts that you got from somebody else. And so switching to the single took actually like 59 pounds off the nose.
Quite a bit.
Yeah. So.
Well, let's talk about your blow-through car and why you didn't go with injection.
Is I hate fuel injection. I've never heard anybody say anything other than my injectors are clogged up and I gotta send them off, or I had one stick open and now I got a cylinder burned down and I don't want to deal with it.
So you went with blow-through already?
I did. I tinkered with some blow-through stuff on a buddy's Mustang and learned how to make it work, and then got a carburetor as a hand-me-down from another buddy who spent a lot of money on a nice one. So I've got a very nice one for hand-me-down cost, and I know how to work every inch of it, which is just like the guys that know the fuel injection stuff, but I don't have the problems they have.
So you got a factory block EXS heads.
EX 514 heads.
EX 514 heads, but you said they weren't being made no more, produced?
No, they're not made anymore. They actually went out of business about 20 years ago.
So like we talked about earlier, you're a little out of date on the program a little bit, but you're still making upwards of, what was the horsepower rating?
This thing makes probably 2,200 crank horse. It'll make just over 1,700 on 16 pounds. and we usually race around 24, 25 pounds of boost.
Which is extremely impressive being at the factory block, 20-year-old heads on a blow-through car when a lot of the internet says that
it won't work.
Yeah, and fuel injection is the way to go.
Yeah. It was, it took me about 3 years to figure out how to make those parts live in that block. I went through main bearings. I'd spin main bearings every 3 or 4 hits.
What was your biggest hurdle with that?
I think the biggest thing, the ultimate fix was actually simple. I went to a dry sump oil setup and threw 120 pounds of oil pressure at the mains and gave it a lot of clearance, oil clearance. And that was, once we, after a couple tries at different things, once we found that was the ticket.
That was the ticket. And then you also do work on the side outside of racing and your business. You work in your garage doing side jobs for people, which you've done the cage on the S10 we got, but you've also done other things in the past between transmissions and cages and whatnot.
Yeah, so my biggest thing is I will never take money away from our income, the family's income, to go racing. I enjoy racing. I'm very passionate about it. It's a lot of fun, but I'm not gonna leave my wife and boys, without groceries or something to go racing. So that turned into, as a lot of us do, we try and make some money on the side, and that's my racing money is, if I pick up a transmission job here or, a cage, something like that, that's how I go racing. And if I don't have that side money, then I just don't go. It's not the end of the world, but
just basically the average guy out working, supporting a family, and racing for a hobby and enjoying it.
Yep.
What do you have any guys that you have looked to in the past for your influence to racing or anything, or anybody that you kind of like role model?
Yeah. So when I was 18, I got hooked up with a guy local. His name's Leon Mathis, and I used to go to the track with him. They had a True Street Nitrous car at the time. It was basically an Outlaw 10.5 style class, and we raced at US 60 in Ohio Valley, and but I would go with them and just learn what to do. I'd put fuel in the car, or change the tires or whatever needed done, and that's what got me hooked on it. I actually got the original bottom end of this car. The big block stuff came out of one of the pulling trucks that Leon had put together. So a lot of my stuff has been hand-me-down pull truck, big block Ford stuff. But he's the biggest asset for me.
Like you're sitting there saying about who you role model and stuff like that, you don't really see the guys at the track talking to the audience or the people like that. A lot of them are too nervous to even come up to talk to the guys that drive the cars because they don't really know what to think.
That's probably one of the neatest things to me is, you see that picture floating around Facebook all the time where it's like, the kids at the track, look up to you and you remember because you used to be that kid. And it's the coolest thing when young kids come up and want to take a picture of the car or talk about it or anything. And I'm not anybody special, and the car's not some, John Force car. It's nothing special, but if there's anything that I can do that gives them that, I can do that too. That's what I want.
And that's pretty much what this is kind of about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The biggest thing with that motor, it's to some it's not impressive. If you're in the big block Fords, it is one of the highest horsepower big block Fords in a factory block anywhere. It probably holds the record for the highest horsepower factory block in a big block Ford. But there's so many guys that I've talked to. I'll talk to, at least once or twice a week. I'll have guys message me and want to know how I'm doing it or what I'm doing, and I don't have any secrets. I would give anybody the answers because I think it gives them that I can do it too. And there's tons of people out there that send me pictures. Will this work? Or because now they want to do it too, and I think that's cooler than anything else.
Yeah.
But
well, it's just like I called you a couple of days ago about that front plate and that mid plate. Because I knew you were a lot more into that and more experienced with that kind of situation. And I've only done my car and doing this as 10, but you were, easily willing to lend a hand and, knowledge on about getting it done. Which a lot of times when you go to track, a lot of them guys, no prep guys keep things on a secret.
Yeah.
And I ain't saying all of them, but some of them. And it's good though for the people that are coming to the track to meet the guys, that like you that are open about it. Let the kids take a picture in the car, talk to them openly about your build and what you can do and what you can make and how fast you are.
Yeah.
Which brings a lot of interest, I think, from the outside perspective. But I think some of them guys look at your car and think, man, that's $100,000 car or something, but it's not.
No, it ain't.
You're a guy kicking, you ain't out puppy kicking either.
Yeah.
You race with those guys that get in where you can fit in,
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I think there's a lot of people, and I've said this online. I think there's a lot of people who look up to some of those high dollar no prep guys, and go to the track just to see them. Your top 4 or 5 guys, they go to watch them, and when they don't perform like they should or whatever, it's they're you can go there to win money. That's all fine, but in the end, people that keep the track open are the people that pay to sit in the stands.
Really?
And if you're not, we're there to put on the show more than anything. As much as we enjoy it ourselves, I mean,
you guys are the act.
But that's the thing. I mean, I would rather have more people come and talk to me about what we're doing and how I'm building it and how they can do the same thing than I would, park at the other end of the pits and, not want anybody to come and talk to me.
Yeah, because that time I came and watched you at the Valley, you probably had like 6 or 7 people at your car when I came up to talk to you. And, I know they probably had y'all chasing your tail because your bumper caught on fire.
Yeah.
And I know you were busy, but you still took your time out of there to talk to me. And I think you were talking to like 2 other guys, random guys about your car and stuff like that too. Which is the things, like I said, most guys don't do. They don't take the time out of their day to introduce themselves. Which I've met at US 60. I went to the event they had. It was like the $25 race like last year or something like that. And 2 guys that are pretty well known in the no prep world, not from around this area, outside of the States. I went up to talk to them, and they kind of brushed me off, which, I get it, they're busy, but at the same time, I was just sitting there thinking in my head, like, man, there's probably, how many people do you brush off every time you go to the track? And there's guys that really, like, I bought their shirts and stuff like that, try to be a good supporter of their program, not only just the track, but, I go to see the track, like you said, you guys are going to shirt. So I bought a shirt and stuff like that, and I was like, well, I'm going to talk to them, because I've been following them for years, and they just kind of brushed it off. I was like, well, all right then, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, some of them guys are just kind of, and they're in the middle of a race in between rounds. I know they got to do what they got to do. You don't want to be a burden and stuff, but like you said, they're the ones pulling in the people just like you are.
There's going to be some 12-year-old kid that's going to get turned off to it. He's not going to come back to the track.
Yep, you're right.
And then we're not going to have that next generation.
Yep.
So.
And the racing thing just picked up a couple years ago, and now it kind of feels like it's falling off a little bit. And I think it's the majority of it's because there's only a select group of guys anymore that are going to the tracks. And a lot of them, I mean, I ain't trying to start a controversy, but some of them puppy kick. You know what I mean? You get a big baller in a lower class and doing that, which you had a controversy between a no prep thing. And I think, you're on to kind of like something about the no prep. With being, like say your car is a prep car, you can make a lot more power. And, I raced no prep several times, and I had a low powered car, and I still managed to run with some of the guys that, which I'm a no name guy. It's not like I go race, but I got called a duck at the chip draw.
Yeah.
And there was a side bet made that I wouldn't make it to the finals. And the 2 that made the side betted that they were going to get to the finals because they were going to, beat all, there was only like 15 of us, I think.
Yeah.
10 of us, and this is at Salem. And I ended up going to the finals with probably like only an 800 horsepower car. That's with my nitrous.
Yeah.
So I don't really believe, I don't believe that a lot of guys that make a huge power are always going to be on top in a no prep world and stuff like that.
So it's probably been 10 years ago, or maybe even more. I used to do, some street racing with the car when it was nitrous stuff, And as things progress and you make more power, you find out it's a lot harder to try and make big power work on a no prep surface. So inevitably that led me to aim more for the prep stuff. And the more I did it, the more I found out that I can shoot for a PB every time. Like, I want to go faster. I don't want to turn my stuff down, to go down the track. I don't want to turn it down and be like, oh yeah, I made it all the way through. I won every round. And
You want to send it.
I want to send. I want to go out first round and go a PB. Like, if I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna lose for real.
Yeah.
And that was the thing with all the controversy, and is I'm not a no prep racer, and I went to a no prep race to give it a try, and it was a scraped deal. I probably wouldn't have gone if I'd have found out ahead of time that it was scraped. But I get there, I'm already there. I paid my $200, and I think, well, let's try it. So we turned the car down. We pulled 12 degrees of timing, for 3 seconds, and we put the thing on the slowest boost ramp it can be on with, almost no dome, and off the button it just annihilates the tires. It never even moved. And I was racing Jeremy Elrod, and he makes a good pass every time. The car's not. If he was on prep, I'd say the car's probably a 540 ride, 550 maybe. I don't know, but on no prep, he's consistent, and he walked off and left me sitting still, and it sucked. So, they're like, well, we're here already. They're gonna do a second chance race. Screw it. I'll pay the $100. I brought 300. I paid my 200 entry. I lost. I got 100 with me. Let's throw it in and see what happens.
Yep.
I set the car on, as low as I could, and even I don't even know how it was running. So, when we pulled the log, the thing made 6 pounds of boost, and it was on 2 degrees of timing 1 second into the race. 2 seconds into the race, it was on 8 pounds of boost and 0.5 degrees of total timing. And 3 seconds into the race, it was on 10 pounds of boost and 2 degrees of timing. And 3.4, it broke the ring gear, and I shut it off. So ignition's off at 4 seconds. With that being said, I don't know how you can get any lower in power management. Without being off. And I feel like, for that first 250, 300 foot of the race, I was, within a car or a half a car, one of the fastest guys there. And that was where the whole controversy came from. Is I wanted to rile some feathers up. I wanted to get people to show up, to our next race, and I wanted to get that, I wanted people to prove something again, because I said, no prep guys is where all the slow people go because they don't show their times. Slow. Now, why do I want to turn my stuff down and go down the track? And I know it takes a lot. It's hard to do, and I got a lot of respect for the guys that do it. But I also think, the reason they do a lot of that no prep stuff is because they can't run with the fast guys. And I think they probably could if they really.
No mercy on that exhaust.
I think they probably could run with them if they wanted to put the effort into that kind of racing. But I wanted to go try it and prove that I would at least try it. And I got beat, and it wasn't, there was no, I wasn't.
You wasn't been out shape about it.
I didn't have these false, hopes that I was going to come around him magically or something because I could pour on 2,000 horses. It's just.
You went out there and played in a different. You got out of your comfort zone.
Oh yeah.
And you played with a whole different side of racing, which we talked about. And like I said, I do like the no prep style. You like the prep style, but we can both sit there and have a conversation.
Oh yeah.
And discuss it because we got respect for the whole racing, community. But in all of that, setting all that aside, how do you feel about the racing community? Do you feel like it's better than it was 10 years ago? Do you feel like it's kind of dropped off a little bit?
I think it's weird. You have this group of people who've been doing it for a while, but I don't see the young kids coming in, and it's kind of odd. Like the local Walmart, you used to have, 6, 7, 8, Camaros and Mustangs sitting around, and 18, 19-year-old kids all hanging out. You don't see that anymore. Where are those kids at? Where's the cars at? Who's going to be into cars in 10 years? I'm still going to be doing it, but.
Do you think that maybe it's got something to do with like how the promotion's going, or track fees, or just people not interested because of the lack of, I guess, availability to drivers reaching out to the people in the stands, like we were talking about earlier?
I think that can be some of it, and I think having people see it and be able to relate to it is the biggest grab. And then it's, because I've helped some kids get into, get started, and they'll talk to somebody, that races, and it's, you need this, and this,
Always a high.
You got to spend this much money and blah, 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 and it's, in reality, they'll start building a car, and they don't understand that to build that car is going to take 2 years,
Time consuming.
and a lot of money. But if you can just get them hooked, you just get them that first pass down the track with their, bone stock 2-valve Mustang, and they go a 10-second 1/8 mile, and spin, and then you teach them how to get out of the hole better, and they go a 990, that's what gets them hooked, and then it's not building a car, it's just how can I get better, maybe. Down the road, I'm gonna put 100 shot of nitrous on it. Like all of us started. I think a lot of us forget that we started so cheap, so low in the pole. I mean, that thing was, 205 horsepower factory, and I thought it was bad.
Yeah, look at it now.
But yeah, I think people get tied up in trying to be the fastest and and have the best stuff, and in reality, if you just start doing it with what you've got, stuff comes around.
I actually started racing about 10 years ago, give or take, and I had a little 89 S10 called Struggle. Just had a stock block 358 punch 30 up to 355.
It was a struggle.
Yeah, it was. It was a struggle. It's falling apart left and right. And then I took it down to Josh Babcock. And he done a nice short block, a factory block and all that, and done a 385 stroke, a 40 over with domes in it, and a set of Pro Cop heads, and was running 7 flat 690s, then swapped the profiler heads and some nitrous. I think I was shooting a 250 shot and we started running 580s. But that was on stock hypercube pistons at that.
Yeah.
And actually I blew that up racing Jeremy Elrod in my Malibu. Because I knew Elrod was a heavy hitter, and I was like, well, I'm going to give it everything he's got.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I shot piston rings at Nick, he rode Dirty Brown. So when it came out, it was like, but you got to start somewhere. But the biggest thing I think is when you're racing, even when you're starting out, it's the guys that, it's a competitive sport. It is. So I think a lot of guys forget that guy that ran a 10, instead of saying, man, he was slow, tell them, say, good job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You done something. Because you see a lot of cars that come around that you can tell aren't fully built, not high priced, they're big money cars that some kid just built in his garage at maybe working at DQ and just trying to have some fun.
Yeah.
And he'll make a pass and everybody be laughing. But man, I got slow, whatever. But it ain't about that.
Yeah.
Tell that guy good job. You done a hell of a job,
Yeah. You just want to do better every time.
Yeah.
That's my thing. I don't care to win first round. I honestly don't care. I mean, it's fun to win the whole thing, but I just want to do better every time I go.
Yeah.
And that's where me and some of the more high-end racers probably disagree. They're there to win that money, and that's fine. But I know I'm not the baddest. I know I'm not going to be the baddest. I don't have the money to throw at something to go and do that. It's more of an expensive hobby for me. It's not it's not a lifestyle as much as it is just something I really, really love to do. So yeah, I'd much rather just go out there and get somebody interested, get them started, than I would, kick them into the dirt with how fast my car is and theirs isn't.
So if you could sum up everything in a little short line, what would you say to the next guy trying to build something in his garage right now? Imagine that guy that has got that, 2003, 2008 Mustang, working at McDonald's, and it's a beat up car, probably hanging down, and he's wanting to make a fast car and have fun. What would you tell that kid?
And I think I would just say to start setting a goal. Set a realistic goal. Get to the track, see what kind of ETA thing runs. If you really get excited about it, figure out how to get that next tenth. It's always about the next mile an hour or the next tenth, but figure out what that is and find somebody who will help mentor and guide you there versus spending your money to get there. Because anybody can tell you got to spend all this money on parts and that'll get you there, and it will. But to have somebody actually guide you and say, you don't need to spend it here. Spend it on a set of gears. You take them factory gears out and throw some 430s in the back of this thing, it's going to pick up a tenth or better. Right there, you just made a big leap and you spent $200.
Have fun doing it, man.
Yeah.
And a lot of things I think a lot of guys realize. I think a lot of guys put that kind of like ceiling on themselves by saying they can't do it because of maybe not having mechanical skills and whatnot. But really, we all got to start somewhere.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of how this sport kind of goes. A lot of guys like yourself, you're an average Joe, a family man. Like you say, you do a lot of side jobs to make this happen. And as people will see your car, a lot of this work is just you doing it. You're learning as you go.
Yeah.
If you could put Corbin next to or put yourself next to bigger guys, I feel like a lot more people will be able to relate to you. And then that's one of the reasons why I wanted you on this interview, because you are that humble guy out hitting it out on the weekends, enjoying yourself, having fun, and it shows that you can do it. It's possible.
That's the thing. My knowledge base just literally comes from being poor and broke when I started.
Yeah.
I can't pay somebody to come over here and weld up all this cold side piping, and that'd be a $4,000 job if I had somebody do it.
And it looks great.
But I can sit down with a welder for a couple hours and figure out how to weld aluminum and then have it, done. And after doing that, 6, 7, 8 years, you get decent with it. And I'll never stop learning. I'll never stop getting better. There's a lot of really good guys out there, chassis guys that just make me look like I'm just throwing JB Weld at something. But
and you ain't gotta have the most expensive welders and stuff to learn. Like Mitch, he has that. He went to Harbor Freight, got the titanium or whatever it was, and done his whole car. With that, and he has a really nice street driven box body.
Oh yeah, that cage came out awesome.
Yeah, we hope to talk to him too, because that's the street car side of things that a lot of people knock. But really, he's proven it that you can do it on a low budget, stock block car and run good times.
Yep, that's even like Dad's car out here. That's a factory 07 3 valve, and we put a set of 430 gears in it. I had a 4R70 case on the floor, and I built a built 4R70 for it with a trans brake, and we ended up finding a deal on a small blower, like 10-pound 10-pound tune deal, and it goes 690s.
Yeah.
And you could build that car for less, $6,000-$7,000. You could do everything we did. And you just took a car that went 8 something to go in 690s, and all it is transmission gears and a small blower.
That's impressive. That's a depressing street car too.
Yeah, it's still got AC and all that stuff on it.
And you could go buy like a $80,000 Hellcat or whatever it is these days. But
It
why
goes
do
like
that?
that.
Yeah. Well, you can build it right here in your garage.
Yeah.
You know. All right, so we're gonna wrap this up. We appreciate your time, Corbin. Letting us come to your shop, showing us your car, your program, kind of talking about us about the track stuff and whatnot. And we look forward to seeing you out there getting down like
Well, we'll do it the next time.
Yeah. Catching fire here on bumpers.
Yeah, anytime, man.